Hi there, greetings and salutations. My name is Jake Query, and that is Derek Schultz, and it is Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. And despite the fact that the table is bare, we still are proudly presenting Bailey and Wood, correct?
Oh, yeah, all of our sponsors are still on board. Rake's just running a little bit behind, so he doesn't have our swag.
Well, okay.
He doesn't have our swag. He doesn't have our T-shirts like usually we have.
By the way,
a Hoagies T-shirt.
Mortgage rates starting to dip a little bit below 6%. Bailey and Wood, the very best in terms of getting you that rate, whether you're looking to refinance, get into a no home, whatever it might be. Bailey and Wood, family-owned business, started in the south side of Indianapolis, but serving all of the area and the very best when it comes to integrity, just friendship in general, but obviously getting you that best mortgage rate. We are always happy to be on board with them. And once again, to be coming to you from Hoagies and Hops, as well as Chili Water here at 42nd and Boulevard in Indianapolis. We will very soon get into the aptly named Phillyapolis, which is one of the beers here, and, of course, that marriage between Philadelphia and Indianapolis that you get at Hoagies and Hops, the very best for your sandwiches. Derek, when it comes to sports, look, it's franchise tag day, and we know that by the time you're watching this, we'll know where things are. But let's begin with college basketball because
it's March.
We're into March now.
Yeah.
It feels like October outside, but this is an interesting situation with Indiana and Purdue because I think Purdue, without knowing it, might have actually bounced Indiana by losing to Ohio State.
Yeah, I guess
at least as of now.
That didn't help Indiana. Now, I don't think any Purdue fans are necessarily happy about that. I mean, you blew 2 quad 1 opportunities because Ohio State's a road game and a top 40 opponent, and then you lose to Michigan State at home. You're likely going to have to play now Thursday in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, Jake, this was a team that was preseason number 1, and they have 6 Big Ten losses.
Yeah.
6 of them. They've lost 4 games at Mackey Arena. That's the most since the COVID season. And it just looks like there's something off about
totally
them.
Agree.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a leadership thing, a communication team. Defensively, they've just crumbled. They can't defend the three-point line whatsoever. Teams are just eating them up from the outside. Michigan State did it again. It's too bad because offensively, Purdue's still been very good. This is still one of the most efficient offenses in the entire country. But if every team that you play, every good team that you play is going to hit 12, 13, 14, 15 threes and shoot 45, 50, 55% from out there, then you're just not going to win a majority of the time.
I think, Derek, look, and I really like Purdue, and I had such high expectation for this group and this team going into the year. And I really did think it was the best team in college basketball. But there, to your point, there's just something off. And to me, it comes down to one of two things. And I don't know which of these two it is. Maybe it's neither, okay? Number one would be that when you have a group that's played together for a long time and played 100 games together, not only do you have plenty of film on how to attack that group and where their weaknesses are, there's nothing about this Purdue team that every opponent doesn't know going into it, right? And number two, in that same breath, you have guys that have been playing together for a very long time, and there is the possibility that chemistry issues arise just because guys get tired of each other. I know that sounds ridiculous. You and I know that all too well. But the other thing that I think is a variable here, Derek, and this is probably true at a lot of programs, but a lot of programs aren't around each other long enough for it to set in. When you are now in the NIL era, and everyone knows, for the most part, what each player is getting in compensation, there is no way, you at 21 years old, 22 years old, you cannot, I mean, I've worked in situations in the past where I found out the contractual status of somebody else within where I was working, and I'm like, really? They're getting that, and I'm doing this, and I'm getting this? And that was as an adult.
Yeah.
I can only imagine at 20, 21 years old, when you find out that your point guard's making 5 times the amount of money as your third scorer or whatever it might be, and just the lack of chemistry that can create. I really do think that's part of what is factoring in here.
Yeah, it's just human nature, right? And again, this is all speculation, but you watch them play, and it just they're not connected like guys that have played 130 games together should be connected.
Right.
And part of what has always sort of made these Purdue teams, the great Purdue teams, great is the camaraderie and chemistry and connection of their best players. And in this new era, it's just a new challenge to have to navigate exactly what you just talked about. And we're talking about them like we would about an NBA team, right? Because essentially that's sort of what it is now. It's professional sports. Not even sort of. You can take the sort of right out of it. But, like if you think ahead here to where Purdue goes, let's say that they go 27-9 and get bounced in the Sweet 16. For some teams, that's a really good season, right? But for them, it would be a massive disappointment. Out
number one, that's a disappointment.
It'd be a massive disappointment for them. And it's great that that's the standard of where the program is. But, you have Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois as all single plays and all at home, and you lost all three of them. You lost to the four best teams on your schedule all at home if you throw in the Iowa State game there in December. And I just think it's really disheartening. One thing that Matt Painter's teams largely have not done is underperform, and this team is underperforming.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, I don't want to by any means try to pick out or point out, or it would be irresponsible of me to say the problem is this guy or the problem is this guy. Everybody can look at it and figure out which one seems to be running rogue from the rest, okay? And I don't know. I'm not in that locker room. But I do know this. If you look, Derek, at Purdue basketball, historically speaking, okay, when I say the triplets and you think of the three-peat of the late 80s, I mean, immediately it's like, oh, yeah, Troy Lewis, Everett Stevens, Todd Mitchell. Boom.
Yeah, three amigos.
It's the three amigos, right? Then you think about after that, the next group of three, Etuan Moore, Juwan Johnson, Robbie Hummel.
Well, yeah, Glenn Robinson, Conzo Martin as well, like that group.
Okay.
And then
this particular group, when you look at, okay, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Renn, you have to almost kind of think about it for a second because they just don't seem to, in your mind, maybe I'm wrong here, okay? But they just don't, in your mind, seem to go one after the next because they have not played with that level of consistently played at that level where each one of them just automatically knows where the other is on the floor. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like they have enough talent. They have enough talent, does Purdue, to win the majority of games they're going into, even if they're not fully in sync. But when they're going up against that top 10 to 15, top 20 team and need to play in full cohesiveness, it just feels like more often than not, one of their Pistons misfires.
Yeah, and, I know we're focusing on the top three because they're the seniors and they're the all-conference caliber players largely. But, I mean, there are some other issues here. I think they thought they were solving their size issue by bringing in Oscar Clough and getting Daniel Jacobson back from injury. But now teams are using their size to their detriment because Clough athletically isn't where some of these other guys are. And he looks gassed.
He does. He looks totally out of shape.
Yeah, he's just on empty right now. He's had to play a lot of basketball here. And Jacobson, even though he's technically a second-year player, he played 1.5 games his freshman year. He's technically he's really a freshman in the grand scheme of things, and they just haven't been able to lean into their depth, I think, as much as they would like. I really like Jack Benter, and I like Jakari Harris and some of those guys. I don't think they've necessarily been the problem, but
I think Jakari Harris has been underused.
It's been Purdue's frontline players that, and Kaufman-Renn having to become a rebounder instead of a scorer in the middle of the season because they were lacking in that area. They've had to make some adjustments that you didn't think that they'd have to make, but really it's just about teams putting them in a blender defensively. Like Ohio State, that's a very ordinary Ohio State team.
Right.
Like they're okay. They're a fringe NCAA tournament team, and what they score 84 points, that can't happen.
Well, and Derek, the other thing that happened with that Purdue Ohio State game, and I know it's in Columbus, and there probably is upcoming the tiebreaker matchup here, but going into that game, now I have not looked, and I know that quoting Joe Lunardi's bracketology. I'm about to sneeze, Derek. You want to take over?
Yeah. The problem with Lunardi, let me say this, is that his bracketology is updated on Friday.
Right.
And then I go in there on Monday to look at it, and it still says Friday. And I'm like, what the hell have you been doing? Right. This is your one job.
So here's the thing. The bracketology, if I can get through this before my next sneeze, my morning sneezes are hitting me here.
Oh, God.
The bracketology going into the weekend had Indiana as the last team in.
Yeah.
That was going into the weekend, and then they lost. So does that mean The combination, you see me fighting.
Yeah, you're
the combination of Indiana's loss and Purdue losing to Ohio State. Ohio State was right there behind Indiana. The good news for Indiana is the other teams in Lenardi's bracketology, Derek, I do believe it. Because more often than not, he is within like two teams, right? So it gives you a very good barometer. Those teams that were waiting, trying to get in Indiana's grouping, all of them are on losing streaks, essentially, with the exception of there was one team in, I think it's Santa Clara maybe, that has played okay and held their own. But Indiana losing that game to Ohio State, seemingly that puts Ohio State in front of Indiana. But they do get to play each other again.
Yeah, and that'll be this week. And really, Indiana's got to win both of these games. You can't possibly lose at home to Minnesota.
No, you lose to Minnesota.
If you do that, then it's really over. But you got to beat Minnesota at home, and you got to win at Ohio State, and then you probably have to win 2 in the Big Ten tournament to put yourself in position where they're even having a conversation about you. But here's the thing, Jake. We always talk in absolutes. There's a lot that's going to happen between now. It doesn't feel like it because Selection Sunday is less than 2 weeks away, right? There's a ton of crap that's going to happen between now and then. Teams are going to play their way off. Teams are going to play their way in. This is what always happens. So the people saying, well, Indiana's definitely out now. They are not definitely out now. Now, it's not looking good. They have not put themselves in a good position. They are not definitely out. They still have everything in front of them here.
Do you have the breaking news sounder?
The
latest bracketology is out.
Oh, wow.
Fresh, hot off the press.
I thought we were going to have Daniel Jones news. That would have been wonderful, wouldn't it? Or Alec Pierce news.
Fresh and hot off the press. The latest bracketology from Joe Lenardi. And, yeah, I do think that he is usually pretty dialed in. The last team in, the Hoosiers of Indiana.
Still the last team in, huh?
The first team out now, the 15 and 18 Auburn Tigers. But they're coached by Bruce Pearl's-Kid, and Bruce Pearl's on television.
Does it say updated March 3rd?
Yes.
Okay.
As of 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think I saw something where I forgot. I would give this person credit if I knew where I saw it. But one of the Indiana sites, I think it was Daily Hoosier, they did a compilation of all the bracket, the bracket matrix, and Indiana was in half the brackets and out of half the brackets because there's 500 people that do brackets now. So they're still right there on the cut line, but
they have Ohio State also as a last 4 in. This would mean that Indiana would be playing in a play-in game against New Mexico, Ohio State, or Santa Clara.
But again, if they're the last team in and Miami of Ohio loses in their conference tournament, or somebody else that shouldn't loses in their conference tournament,
correct.
Then that becomes problematic.
Miami of Ohio has to be in, do they not? At this point, they have to be in.
I mean, I hope so.
How do you not?
If you're a college basketball fan, look, I know their team sheet sucks. Their schedule has been atrocious.
Who cares?
They played 3 non-Division I teams. Okay, I get it. It's still really hard to go 29-0.
At some point, I'm here to tell you, okay? And listen, what I'm about to say, I'm fully expecting you to make complete fun of me. I played on a basketball team at North Central, a freshman team. Now, when we were freshmen, we thought we were super good. And then we realized that North Central at that time was a 4-year school, and most schools were still 3-year. So we were basically the Washington Township all-star team for 3 middle schools, and we're playing other middle schools. So we should have been blowing them out. Having said that, we were 22-0. And when you get up to 15 and 16-0, it wasn't even about who we were playing. It was the pressure of knowing that you are unblemished. And you'd never been behind, and if games were tight. That is a terrible comparison, I realize.
No, I think it's fair. Yeah, when you're 16 and you're staring across the court at the 14-year-old that's guarding you, and you're thinking about the pressure of that situation, that kid is a half a foot smaller than you, and you have 50 pounds on them, sure. But I can understand why that would be a lot of pressure before you dunked on that poor, helpless 14-year-old because he's still a middle schooler and you're a high schooler. I mean, I totally get it.
We were all the same grade and age.
I totally get how
for that matter.
Would be tough.
For what it's worth, I mean, at South Wayne and Fulton, their freshmen were actually 19. But what I'm saying is they had a freshman class of 160 kids, and we had a freshman class of 1,000. Right.
Yeah. So it's basically like when Carmel High School plays anybody.
Right.
Right.
But what I'm saying is,
we love our friends at Carmel,
Miami of Ohio. If they're going to go unbeaten in their regular season, I don't care if they lose in their conference tournament. They went 29-0 or whatever it is in the regular season. That right there merits being in. I don't care who you play.
Yeah. I mean, I think
you're going to put.
I think they're going to be in very.
You're going to put somebody from the MAC in, right?
Yes.
So if you have somebody that managed to go through the regular season of the MAC schedule undefeated, they should be in.
They have some other good teams in that league, too, like Akron and Kent State are both good teams. But I think what Ball State would have to do would be to avoid, losing to Toledo. And let me look who else that they have.
By the way, Lenardi still
Ohio
has Purdue as a 3 seed. I think Purdue might be playing into 4 seed.
Well, here's the thing, Jake. They destroyed Texas Tech on a neutral court, which is a win that has aged tremendously for them because even though they've lost JT Toppin, Texas Tech is still playing like a top 10 team. They won at Nebraska, which is a great win as well. I mean, they have 8 quad 1 wins. So their resume overall is very good. It's just not as good as it should be.
Yeah, fair.
That's where they are. But, getting back to Indiana, and I said this after they lost to Northwestern at home because we've seen Indiana do this so many times. As you can see, Jake, you mentioned that Auburn team, like you snarkily said, they're 15 and 18. They're 18 and 15 or whatever they are, right? But
I think they're a game over 500.
That's not a very good team, right? And it underlines the point that every time that we talk about this bubble, you look at some of the teams and you're like, ugh, like Ohio State, like ugh. It's very mediocre. It is not difficult to make the NCAA tournament. And Indiana makes it so hard on themselves every single year.
You know what?
The unforgivable sin to me for Indiana is not the fact that they're not in the national conversation. It's not the fact that they're not Kansas and Duke and North Carolina. It's the fact that they miss the tournament far more often than they make it. That is an unforgivable sin for Indiana.
Derek, in the last 25 years, quarter century, since 2001, the last 25 years, do you want to guess how many seasons Indiana went above 500 in conference play? Just off the top of your head. Boom. Throw me a number.
Man. 7.
That's exactly correct.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay, great.
7 times.
Yeah, in 25 years.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Now, Indiana does, since we've talked last, I believe, they've made a change here, has Indiana, in terms of the way that their program is being run, by now hiring an executive director, basically a GM of Indiana basketball, Ryan Carr, a guy that, Derek, you and I both know very well.
Yeah.
I know him back to my college days when Ryan and I were essentially roommates. We were neighbors, but I was Kramer to his apartment, right? And I've known Ryan a long time. He was working with the Indiana Pacers first as a film director, then as a scout for them, ultimately the head of their scouting department, and then ultimately the vice president of player personnel. After a quarter century with the Pacers in a very amicable departure from the Pacers. Matter of fact, it was emotional for Ryan. I know that for a fact. But leaving there to go and work for Darren DeVries and essentially help with roster building, figuring out what they want to do with NIL money, what players they need to go after, what pieces they need. This is something that we're going to see more of in college basketball, but give credit to Indiana here, Derek. They were ahead of the game in football with Kurt Cignetti and the way that they used NIL in the transfer portal to turn that program around. And now in basketball, I think what you're seeing here is a position that you're going to see a lot of programs do.
Yeah, and they're not the first to do this, but that's where it's been trending. It's been trending for a while in football that way. And hopefully they'll be able to, I think what Ryan can identify, which Indiana coaches and leadership has had a real issue with, is identify fit. Who fits? And I think Indiana has been far too focused on let's just grab as much talent as possible and throw it all out there than they have been, okay, how do the pieces sort of fit together? This roster, and I thought it was interesting. I was actually in the car grabbing lunch yesterday, and I heard Don Fisher say this, and I was like, wow, if Don Fisher says this, then people must be talking about it. He said that they had a lot of mid-major level players, and I was like, whoa. Usually the play-by-play voice of a team doesn't say something like that. There's usually something for a sports talk radio host to say, right? But my buddy and I, we went to the IU game, and by the way, the crowd was great. The crowd tried to will Indiana, but every time they went on a run, Michigan State hit a 3 to shut everybody up. We were walking out of Assembly Hall, and he goes to me, my analysis of that game is that Indiana has 2 players that would play for Michigan State and 10 players that would not.
Right.
And I said, that's 100% true. I mean, Sam Alexis may be on the borderline, but like Connor Enright would not see the floor for Michigan State.
And here's the thing, Derek. I do think, and maybe after years of futility, I'm giving them a pass. I do think that Darren DeVries, with this roster, has done a good coaching job. You can look at it and say, yeah, really, the analogy that I've given, and maybe I'm about to use one here that I've used with you before, but Darren DeVries and this Indiana roster is like the checkout line at TJ Maxx. When you go through that, they have the long serpentine line.
It's been a minute, but yeah, unfortunately,
and they have you're like, oh my gosh, here's a bag of the mint bark Ghirardelli chocolate squares.
Yeah.
Awesome,
and
right?
Here's some sunglasses and some hand sanitizer.
You pick it up and you're like, they expire in 2 months, but I mean, if I you throw that in, right? And then something else you see and you're like, now that is a really good deal. Boom, throw them in as well. It's just this hodgepodge of stuff. You're relatively familiar with where it came from, but it's this hodgepodge of stuff, and you just got to kind of hope it all meshes together. That's basically the roster that Indiana has, how they had to put it together. They don't have great size. They have one. I do think that Wilkerson is a very good player. I mean,
without him, they would have won 12 games this year, probably.
So, now let's see what, and even with that, for them to be where they are right now, and I will tell you, I talked to Ryan Carr about it, and he said, for them to be where they are right now with the way that when and how that roster was assembled, says that this has been a great coaching job from Darren DeVries. Now, Ryan would know that better than I, and he just signed on to work for the guy. So I would, but having said that, I do think that we have to be patient here. And anybody that feels that judging where Indiana is going to be based on the first year, it may be that 3 years from now we're having the same conversation. But I think he's earned the benefit of that now.
Indiana can't get in this cycle where you're firing coaches every 3 years.
Correct.
Right? So, yes, you have to be patient.
By the way, what's
that
Rhode
said,
Island
I don't want to fully excuse them because I like the TJ Maxx checkout line, but Indiana reportedly had a $10 million NIL budget.
Are you saying that you like doing the TJ Maxx
checkout
line? Or
I like your analogy because they did have to throw this together, Jake, but Indiana can't cry poor. Indiana has a lot more assets and advantages than 95% of major college basketball programs. Derek, and this apparently was a $10 million roster.
I agree with that, but they didn't know until way late in the game who they were getting to DoorDash for them.
For sure, but they still have all of this money, and it's about using the money wisely. And, Wilkerson was a coup. I think Tucker DeVries overall has been a little bit of a disappointment.
I agree. He's not healthy.
And then, but some of these other guys, like...
Why is Trent Sisley not playing more?
Nick Dorn right now, Jake, Nick Dorn stinks. I know Nick Dorn had, he caught a heater for 4 games, and that's the only reason Indiana has an NCAA tournament resume at all, because they beat Purdue and they won at UCLA. Without those 2 games, we're not even having a conversation about Indiana. They're 2-11 in quad 1 games, for God's sake. But, some of these guys that they put out there, I'm just like, Reed Bailey forgot to play the last couple of weeks. Like, what happened to Reed Bailey? Reed Bailey was having a nice season.
By the way,
and now he's getting booed when he comes in?
Rhode Island under Archie Miller. You mentioned coaches. That's what made me think of this. Do you want to guess what they're doing right now? You had a buddy that's a big fan.
Yeah, Stolman's a big Rhodey fan.
Is he still?
URI. Yeah, he's an alum.
They've lost 6 of 8.
Yeah, they've struggled a little bit.
I thought for a while there they had a little bit of...
They're not a basketball school. They're a party school, URI.
Really?
Yeah, the old nickname for them was UR High.
Is it a cool campus?
You know what? I actually never went.
Does it have... Like, what kind of school is it?
I couldn't tell you. I know Stolman got kicked out of Central Connecticut State and then went to URI, so it's probably not the most prestigious institution that there is.
Why did he get kicked out?
I don't know. He and the university leadership didn't see eye to eye on a couple of issues at the dorm.
Like what?
No, I don't want to get into it. He doesn't watch this show. He's my best friend. He's out in Los Angeles. He's made a great life for himself. He's become an executive level producer out in
I'm gonna look
TV in Hollywood.
The
he's
U.S.
done
News
very
and
well.
World Report academic rankings. Where do you think Rhode Island slots in?
I would guess Rhode Island is near the very bottom of the state universities in America.
You think so?
Yeah. Now, this was the reputation 25 years ago, Jake, when I was in high school. So maybe it's changed since then. But, yeah, I would say
Looks like
that.
A beautiful campus.
Yeah. Rhode Island is an amazing state. Rhode Island is probably America's most underrated state. The beaches are fantastic.
Number 151 in national universities.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not terrible.
It's not good.
Well, let's see.
I mean, who else would be there? Like Kansas. Kansas isn't a good school, right?
72% acceptance rate.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas is not – what are the state schools that are known as being not good schools? Like, you went to Kansas, so Kansas is one. Rhode Island.
Arkansas?
Yeah. Ole Miss is a good school, though, right? Isn't it?
I think Ole Miss is also kind of like, hey,
Okay.
have your kids come for 4 years.
Because Florida is an excellent school.
Florida's very good.
And there are some other SEC schools that are excellent
good.
schools.
143 for Kansas.
Okay. Nebraska's kind of down there, too. Didn't the Big Ten kind of stick its neck out for Nebraska a little bit?
I would agree with that.
Like, Nebraska's the worst of the Big Ten schools academically, yes? That's what I always thought.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Like, compared to even like Rutgers and Maryland, and obviously the Pac-12 schools.
What would we assume? Let me
strong.
ask you this. What would you assume is just like the school that it's like,
State schools?
Yeah. Like,
well, URI, but
the school that like somebody's going there and you're like, well, that's cool, but like, are you really going to college?
Among the state schools?
How about Appalachian State?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think of school that has like really good athletics that you're just like, why else would you go? But that's a good question.
I always thought that about Florida State, but I think Florida State's decent.
Yeah, I think Florida State's a decent school. I don't think it's as good as Florida or Miami, but I think it's a decent school.
Now, this makes no sense. Appalachian State, it just says number 2 in top public schools. Well, what does that mean?
Well, they have all kinds of these surveys that they do for things, and you tout whatever is your best deal. Did you just put App State because
App State is number 3 in regional universities of the South. Now, what does that mean?
I don't know. Yeah,
come on.
I think it's more interesting to have a conversation.
Now, this doesn't necessarily fare well. It says App State is ranked 2,161 in best global universities.
Well, that's the whole world, though. I mean, what is Japan's version of Appalachian State?
I mean, where
do they come in? Yeah. Tokyo Christian Tech. They're 2,164.
They got a huge NIL budget, right? They got that Sanyo money. I mean, they're just buying guys left and right.
Yeah. The whole thing is just.
At any rate,
yeah, whatever it is. I
do love the NCAA tournament, and I do think that you will see if Indiana gets in. It does feel to me this year like it is what's the term they use? Like a
soft bubble?
A soft bubble would mean that you very easily could bounce yourself out, right?
A soft bubble means that it's not very competitive. Soft bubble means like it's an off year for the bubble.
No, that'd be a hard bubble.
No. Soft bubble means like it's soft.
No, it's right. If it's soft, that means it can very easily pop and you're out.
You do this sometimes with analogies.
No.
I'm telling you what it means. That's what it means.
Okay, let me ask you something.
Yeah. Why ask me if you're not going to listen to what I have to say?
If you're on a lake, okay?
Okay.
And there's sharks in the lake.
What?
Okay.
How about just a body of water? There are no sharks in lakes, right?
Okay, so well, that's true because it's freshwater. But either way, you're on the bubble, so you're trying to avoid getting into the water because the water's where nobody.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're on the bubble.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm dry.
A soft bubble. If that bubble bursts, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, a soft bubble means that it is very, very tenuous. It's about to burst because it's super soft. Nobody else get on this thing. It's too soft. It's a soft bubble. If it's a hard bubble means that more teams are allowed in there.
I understand what you're saying. I don't think that is how it's viewed.
I think it's a hard bubble this year because
what's a low seed, what's a high seed?
You have like 10 teams that are all right there in that same vat of mediocrity.
But it's like this, Jake. What's a low seed and what's a high seed? Like a high seed is a 14 seed, where some people would say, well, isn't a high seed a 2 seed?
High seed is a 1 seed.
Yeah.
High seed's a 1 seed.
No. Low seed is a 1 seed.
No.
Yes.
No, because let me ask you this. If you're writing out the seeds, if I said, okay, list for me who you think are going to be the seeds in the Midwest, who is your number 1 seed?
The seed in the Midwest, number 1?
Yeah.
Michigan.
Okay. So do you write Michigan last or first?
I would write Michigan first at the very top of the bracket.
At the very what of the bracket?
At the very top of the bracket.
The top of the bracket.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would mean, and just out of curiosity, okay?
Yeah.
If you're at the top of the bracket, that means that you are, wait for it here, higher up than.
No, I didn't use the word high.
So it's a higher seed.
I used the word top.
Right, but
I did not use the word high.
If you're in a building, if you're at the Sears Tower, which now they've renamed it for whatever reason, if you're at the top of it, you're on what floor?
God, what is a 200? What is the highest floor in the Sears Tower? I don't know, 200 something? Is it 200 stories?
Yeah,
yeah.
But the top of it, meaning the highest thing up there, that's the top, right?
Yeah, the overlook.
So if you were to list teams, the top meaning the one at the very top, the highest one up there. The highest is the top.
No,
It's
I
a high
didn't.
seed.
Yeah, I didn't use the term high. I used the term top.
Well, I'm just telling you.
There's a difference.
I'll tell you what. You go ahead and tell everybody, like, oh, I'll never forget, like the 1993 Final Four. There were 3 low seeds and 1 high seed, and then tell everybody like North Carolina was a low seeded team. People go like, what are you talking about? They were number 1 in the country.
Okay, I'm gonna get the cheesesteaks so we don't fight here. Let's get the very best over here. You ready for our Hoagie and Hero of the Week?
Yeah, and while you're doing it, I'll go ahead and crack open the Phillyapolis. This is fabulous because it's a chocolate blonde ale. Again, Chili Water has 2 locations, one in Fountain Square, the other one right here at 42nd and Boulevard. And they are the very best because this is such a great place. You know, the weather right now kind of feels like fall. This is a great place in the fall because you come in here, people are watching football games. They got beers flowing. It's awesome. It's a great atmosphere. It's festive. But that goes on year-round. There is nothing but opening day of the NCAA tournament, the Big Ten tournament upcoming, everything right here in Indianapolis. This is absolutely going to be the place to be because you can sit right here and enjoy yourself a cold beer, a sandwich from Hoagies and Hops, and that includes the Phillyapolis. Chocolate. Listen, Derek, everybody likes a blonde, right?
Oh, that's yeah. I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, people like
That's
blonde.
kind of chauvinistic, though.
It's not chauvinistic at all.
I actually did.
Ken and Barbie, what color hair do they have? Ken.
The joke
Ken's got
that I
blonde
always
hair.
make.
People like blonde. Blonde is beautiful.
Ashley
right?
doesn't watch this show, so I can make this joke. The joke I always make is that I came out to Indiana for blonde-haired Indiana girls, and I married a brunette from New England.
That's rather chauvinistic. I'm just
Yeah.
saying blondes is a hair color that people enjoy and find beautiful.
Oh, come on. That's not that's not what you meant.
Who doesn't love chocolate, right? Chocolate's awesome.
I
We
meant
just talked
I
about
like
you're-
blonde the
you're
hair
in line at
color.
TJ
All right,
Maxx
bro.
and
Yeah.
you're looking at it, you're like, oh, Ghirardelli chocolates. You combine the two, it is perfect. The chocolate
Were you
blonde ale
telling
is
girls
fabulous.
that when you were cruising the Broad Ripple Strip back there in '93 or whatever?
I didn't have to make
Yeah,
it.
I think blonde's a beautiful color.
I didn't
Yeah,
have to. I was
okay.
dating Kylie at the time, blonde-haired girl.
Okay,
This
that hasn't stopped you.
Anyway, I'm telling you right now, this Phillyapolis chocolate blonde is fabulous. It is smooth.
So-
It has just that little hint of the chocolate flavor to it, but it is a blonde, so it is
And I'm going
lighter
to dive
texture.
in here too. Hoagie and Hero of the Week. Friends at Hoagies and Hops. They're right next door, 42nd and Boulevard. Underrated Sandos. We've talked about this before. Underrated Sandos at Hoagies and Hops. Cold subs. Their tuna sub is the best tuna sub that you'll ever have in your life. It's better than the one that you make at home. Really underrated sub. Their most underrated hot sub, which Jake is already chowing down on, I think, is the very best. Now, this is a play on, there is a Sando shop in PA where they make the very best cheesesteak. And the best way that I can describe this is it's like a mashup of a cheesesteak and a sloppy Joe. If you love sloppy Joes as a kid, we still make sloppy Joes. James loves them. So we have sloppy Joe night sometimes at our house. It's in our rotation. But it's like a sloppy Joe cheesesteak. And the sauce has a little bit of kick to it as well. But whiz and the chopped ribeye, just like you love on the Lisio's bread, you can get it wit. You can add pep. You can do all that. Banana pep, the whole deal if you want to do that and customize it up. But I love this Sando, the very best.
It is very good. It's got a little kind of a tangy tomato touch to it, right?
Yep.
Very, very good. You know what? This sandwich is so good that if you were to list it and Derek would put it towards the top of the list, he would say that means it's a higher ranking sandwich than the others here at Hoagies and Hops.
All right, can
You would not say lower ranking. This is a lower ranking.
Can you just drop it? Can you? I know it's impossible for you to drop things, but can you just not do that?
I guarantee you, when it comes to talking about the NCAA tournament and the 16 seeds in each region, every person listening to my voice, at least any of them that have any sort of intellectual capability about them, when they hear high seed, they think 1, 2, 3. Those are the higher seeded teams.
Let me ask you a question.
There's no one that says those are the lower seed.
Let me ask you a question. Did you ever take part in the NCAA selection committee process? Have you ever done that before?
No, I did not go.
Okay.
To your
That's
local
all I
game.
need. That's a yes or no answer. One of us at the table has. The 2013 NCAA Mock Media Selection Committee. It was a 48-hour, 2-day process at NCAA headquarters. I was invited. One of us at the table was not invited. And so I saw behind the scenes how the bracket is constructed, how the seeds are scrubbed, how the teams are placed in regions, and know all of the verbiage when it comes to how they are referred to. So thank you very much for that. I wanted to give a shout out to our friends at Hoagies and Hops for brunch on Boulevard on Sunday. New deal. A lot of fun. They just had the book fair with Kids Inc., so they're having all these fun events here at Hoagies and Hops. Breakfast sandos, cheesesteak and waffles. How about that? You want to get cheesesteak and waffles? That sounds amazing. Mimosas and delicious Blue Mine coffee from down there, also in Midtown on 38th Street, and a whole lot more. Brunch on Boulevard, Sunday, March 8th, right here at Hoagies and Hops. Be here in the morning. It's going to be a lot of fun. Here of the week, I wanted to choose somebody combine related, and I was trying to think somebody that had a local storyline. Now, obviously, Fernando Mendoza didn't work out. A lot of the IU guys performed well in their combine workouts, but probably nobody better performed as far as in-state figures than Jeremiah Love. He ran a 4.36 40-yard dash, solidified himself as RB1 in the draft, but now there's talk of him going as high as number 3 to Arizona. Apparently, the Tennessee Titans are very interested at number 4. And Dan Orlovsky and a couple of draft analysts have called him the best player in the entire draft. So good for Jeremiah Love. You know, Notre Dame, even though they've had a nice run of success here over the last 9-10 years, they haven't really had transcendent level individual talents. And, you know, Jeremiah Love would be one of those.
Derek, just out of curiosity, Dan Orlovsky, and I can't recall, was he drafted out of UConn or was he?
Yeah, I think he was like a 4th or 5th round pick.
4th or 5th round pick.
Yeah.
And Andrew Luck,
he's a great player.
Did he play with Andrew Luck?
Yes. Look, no, year before, 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Andrew Luck was the
2012
first name selected in 2012?
Yeah.
Who was the higher draft pick between Andrew Luck and Dan Orlovsky? Like, who would you say was the higher draft pick?
It's different for the draft.
Why? You're listing them 1, 2, 3, whatever. Okay.
Different process.
You know, Luck was a lower draft pick. I mean, I know because I went to the fantasy football NFL overnight camp with sleeping bags and that guy from Kentucky, and we learned all the inside stuff.
Do you have a hero, or you're just going to be a short name for Richard for the rest of the show?
Rich? Oh, I've been that for a couple of years now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have one?
Nice of you to notice.
No. Do you have one? Is this Jeremiah Love? Are you even trying on the show anymore? Jake doesn't even try on the show.
No, the sandwich.
Let's take a bite. I asked you a question. I wanted to see if you have one. Our podcast listeners are just like, what the hell's going on here? This is a good pairing, too. Phillyapolis in the can on tap here at Chili Water Brewing Tap Room. The very best part of the many delicious cheesesteaks. We've had the Zaire. We've had just the regular traditional cheesesteak as well. All of the hot sandos really, really good at Hoagies and Hops, hoagiesandhops.com.
You know my hero? I'll tell you my hero. My hero is Christina from Hoagies and Hops.
Okay.
Because, let me tell you what's not easy to do. It's not easy to move to a different city than when you have a great love for where you grew up. And, you know, I moved to St. Louis. I love Indianapolis. And I made in my mind like everything was a comparison to Indianapolis. Probably unfair to the people of St. Louis. But Christina comes over and misses Philly to an extent because it's home to her. So she opens up a sandwich shop that reminds her of home, but then utilizes that and parlays that into becoming a tremendous partner for the people of Indianapolis. Fundraisers, a part of the community, getting to know. I mean, you come in here and every single person that comes in knows her. She's a staple. She's a part of the neighborhood. She's a part of giving back for veterans. She's a part of giving back to different charities throughout Indianapolis. She's constantly doing things like helping kids get books, you know, all of those things. That's a hero in my eyes. So there's your hero, Derek.
Okay. I will accept that.
If you were to rank people that have contributed to this city,
right.
She's very high on the list, thus a higher seed. Right?
She was a college basketball team. She'd be low. And I mean that in
No.
the nicest way
No.
possible. She'd be very low.
Okay.
Very, very low. We come back on the show. As Jake had mentioned, we were apprehensive about talking Colts because given this show's history, by the time you're watching this, I don't know, Daniel Jones just signed a $40 million per year deal, and Alec Pierce got transition tagged. I have no idea.
Tag, you're it.
I have no idea. But the tag window closes at 4 p.m., and we'll talk about the Colts and internet complaints about how they're handling the situation.
Internet complaints.
People on the internet are angry.
Okay.
Corey and Schultz presented by Bailey Wood Financial Group from Hoagies and Hops and Chili Water Tap Room, 42nd Boulevard here on the ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jake. I'm Derek. Hi. Thanks so much for joining us.
By the way, Derek, did you see what the other thing that happened today that we have not yet mentioned? Kurt Signetti, new 8-year deal worth just over $104 million.
I did know that was it's one of those things where they
Every
have to
3 weeks he gets a new extension.
They have to renegotiate, though, there's something in his contract. Zach Osterman brought this up, and I'm trying to remember what it was. If they finish in the top 4 or something, or they make the semifinals, you have to do a market evaluation of the contract.
So as other coaches get raises, it impacts his pay scale.
Yeah. So that's why you're like, didn't Signetti just get an extension? Yes. And then he just got an extension before that, and then he just got an extension before that. He's had 4 extensions in the last 6 months.
And I understand why people would be, this is a state publicly funded university. Why are they paying a football coach $13 million? I understand all of that. The reality is this, though. Ask Butler. Ask Clemson. Teams that go on nationally marketed, nationally aware, big-time runs put their school on a map where their applications for admissions skyrocket. And when that happens, you then can be a lot more selective about what students you are allowing to come to school there, and it increases your academic profile. And the purpose of a university is its academic profile. Sports is the conduit that helps elevate that, and that's why coaches get paid a ton of money.
Yeah, there's no better marketing than having your football team win the national championship. That's the best marketing that there is. And so Indiana's leaning into that, as they should, and anybody would do the same.
That's why Stolman went to URI, right? Because Lamar Odom led to a Cinderella run, and there you go.
I think he went to URI because that's the only one that would take him, honestly, with what ended up happening. But again, he's made a great life for himself. Colts fans online angry.
Is he a Rams fan out in L.A.?
No. This is going to make everybody really upset. Stolman was a Patriots-Yankees fan.
But if he's in L.A. and he likes Rhode Island, that makes him a Rams fan that lives in L.A., right?
Well, yeah, he's a roadie Rams fan. I thought you meant, is he an L.A. Rams fan? No. He's always been a Yankees fan. He was always a Patriots fan because he was a Whalers guy, and then the Patriots very nearly moved to Hartford. And so he was thinking that they were going to be the Hartford Patriots, but I remember he liked Ben Coates and Drew Bledsoe. He liked the Patriots when nobody liked the Patriots.
Was he part of that organization about the Whalers?
Yeah, they met at the Wendy's off of 91 in Enfield, and Bring Back the Whale was the fan group. They have not brought back the Whale, unfortunately.
But that old Wendy's is now a Captain D's, so it kind of worked itself
That's
out.
Probably right. That's probably right. Colts fans angry online about the Daniel Jones situation. I actually saw your colleague at The Fan, James Boyd, going back and forth with some people being like, fans saying, well, how would you pay him $35, $40 million, and the Colts would really strap themselves down and all of that. And I was thinking to myself, kind of like James, guys, they got no choice. I mean, they have to bring back Daniel Jones because what's the alternative? And I understand. I'm not saying you have to bring back Daniel Jones because it's a guarantee that Daniel Jones is great. I don't know that. Daniel Jones might never be the same coming back from an Achilles injury, but the Colts have put themselves in a spot where they have to do it.
They painted themselves a little bit into a corner here because I think the Colts just assumed, and I understand why they would think this, okay? But when you go through life and anything that you do, and at the 11th hour, things just kind of fall into place for you. Eventually, excuse me for having to clear my throat. Eventually, you begin to believe that things just kind of naturally fall into place and that patience is rewarded by things falling into your lap and into your favor. the Colts kicked the can on the quarterback position forever, did Chris Ballard. And I think part of it, too, is because Chris Ballard knew that the second that he made a franchise quarterback selection in the draft with, wait for it, a high pick, then what would happen when that happens is the clock begins on his tenure, because that is the signature moment for a general manager. Chris Ballard, the most important draft pick that he had to make, and yes, he's had some good picks. Quentin Nelson was a good pick. Great.
8 years ago.
Darius Leonard was a great pick. Cool.
8 years ago.
Jonathan Taylor was a good pick. Good deal.
6 years ago.
Alec Pierce is paying off and was a very good pick. Cool.
4 years ago.
The most important draft pick that he has had to make, or any general manager has to make, is that of quarterback. And he kicked the can down the road, and he got 11th hour reprieves from Phillip Rivers suddenly being available, and from Carson Wentz being available and thinking that was the guy, and the owner wanted different. And Matt Ryan then just suddenly fell into his lap. And so then he finally goes and bites the bullet and pulls up his big boy pants and drafts Anthony Richardson. And it was a complete flop. That's not to say that Richardson's going to be a bust in the NFL. He may go somewhere else and have a nice career. But in terms of his time in Indianapolis, Anthony Richardson's era is done. It's over. It's complete. And, yeah, maybe they're all of a sudden going to back into it where they got to have him around and they got to go to him and go, you know what, we're actually kidding. Go ahead and delete your Bumble profile. We told you to go ahead and start up. I don't think that's going to happen. But they're in a situation now where I do think that Chris Ballard just assumed it was a fait accompli that Daniel Jones was going to re-sign here. And he may well, and he might have done it by the time you're hearing my voice. But I don't think they really thought there would be other suitors for him. But it's a very dry year for free agent quarterbacks. And Sam Darnold changed the entire narrative. Because when you look at what Seattle did, Seattle went out and said, here's a guy that needs a fresh start, that has gone to a couple of different places, that has shown some competency, and if you get an elite-level receiver for him, nice backs behind him, and a good defense, we can win with this guy. And so they went out and they did it, and they won the Super Bowl. And now all of a sudden, you've got teams like Arizona or Cleveland or New York or whoever it may be that may look at that and say, look, we don't need to go out and draft the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. We can get, in a copycat league, a Sam Darnold clone, and the blueprint is out there. And I know he's coming off of an Achilles injury, but boy, Daniel Jones looks like he could be that kind of a player because he's shown some consistency in the past. And I don't know that the Colts totally gathered or grasped or anticipated that there may actually be free agent competition for Daniel Jones. That's all well and good. That's fine. They can tag him, transition tag him, franchise tag him, exclusive tag him. Those are all, by the way, different terms for some of the different caveats that come with it. But if they do that, then their real key piece, Alec Pierce, that you can only use that tag once. And if they don't tag Alec Pierce, they run the risk of somebody then coming in, overpaying and swooping and taking him. So, do I think that they're going to lose both players? I don't. But the fact that there's even the possibility of that conversation, I think is partially because the Colts painted themselves into a corner, anticipating there would be lack of movement in places where movement may happen.
Yeah, I just think people that are like, well, I mean, Alec Pierce will re-sign for like 24, 25 million. And I'm like, if you were Alec Pierce and you know the market's 30, would you re-sign for 24, 25 million? I wouldn't. If you're Daniel Jones, would you take 30 million instead of 38 million because you want to stay with it? No, I wouldn't do that. Hold their feet to the fire. It's not going to be as easy as people think. I still think that they're going to retain both guys because I don't think they have any choice. But I think there may be some harder choices than they're expecting to come after this. You know, Ballard was very defensive about Michael Pittman Jr., and the thing is that you can't pay Michael Pittman Jr. $29 million while you're paying Jones and Pierce. It's just the math doesn't math there. The math is not mathing. So I think there will be some decisions that kind of come from this, regardless of what happens and who's tagged, who's not tagged, the whole deal. I think the Colts are going to do everything that they can to bring both of those guys back because they just don't have a choice.
There are how many Daniel Jones quarterbacks are there in the NFL? I mean, probably 10, right? 10, 12? Give me 3 quarterbacks that you think of as being in the same level of skill set and competitiveness as Daniel Jones.
Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
I would put there. Who else would be just kind of the middle of the road, the 12 to 15 range. I mean, he's ducking back towards that territory. Yeah, probably now. honestly, I think Darnold is still in that territory.
Well,
I think he's a little bit better than that.
Darnold just won, so we're going to take him out of the equation.
Okay, yeah, but I still think that, just as an individual talent,
Jared
I
Goff?
think that he's around that line. I think Goff's a little bit better than that grouping, but yeah, he's not. He'd be the next grouping up.
So the point I'm making here is if you are a team that has a quarterback that you're locked into that's been a serviceable player for you, you look at Seattle and you say, okay, what did Sam Darnold have in Seattle that he did not have in New York, that he did not have in Carolina, that he did not have during his brief stops like in Minnesota? Now, in Minnesota, he had this kind of a guy, and in Minnesota, he won a lot of games. A game-changing open space wide receiver. So Alec Pierce is a guy that there are going to be multiple teams that are going to look, copycat league, look at it and say, we already have our quarterback locked in. What we don't have for him is this in-space guy that can get behind a defense and also catch on a bubble screen or over the middle or whatever. And Alec Pierce is going to be seen by people as a missing ingredient to their offense that lifts their quarterback. There are going to be big-time suitors for him at a big-time price tag.
And another thing, Jake, you talk about the market for Jones. The market for Pierce says he's the best receiver on the market.
Right.
So that's the other thing. The Colts have put themselves in a tough spot because sometimes it's the context of the situation that you find yourselves in.
At Hoagies and Hops.
What's that?
Alec Pierce. He gets his sandwich.
I saw Alec Pierce here. Yeah, that was like a year ago. I saw him here, and not a single person stopped. He is the most ordinary-looking person, even though he's obviously a really great NFL player.
Right.
We come back on the show, quick hits, and we will get to
we should
Chateau
call
Kitchen's
quick
Biter
hits
Bowl
today
as
quick
well.
tags. It's tag day, French.
You're off a little bit. You don't have your fastball. Don't have your fastball.
I haven't had my fastball in like 9 years.
It's Corey and Schultz. 9 years. That would have put you still well into your 40s, pal.
Yeah, I know.
Corey and Schultz, presented by Bailey Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network. I don't think you realize how old you are.
Oh, I do.
At Bailey and Wood.
Welcome back. Bailey Wood presents Corey and Schultz. Vince early on the queue again. I got to adjust to his clock. I don't know what it's going to be. I do know that the Horizon League basketball championships
March starts here,
this
baby.
week, right down the road from where we're sitting right now, Corteva Coliseum at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and presented by Barbasol, March 8th through 10th. Horizon League basketball championships. Men's are here. Women's are here. Tickets at horizonleague.org, and they are the very proud sponsors of Quick Hits, and can't wait. It's kind of hard to believe that March always sneaks up on me. I mean, we just had a weird fluke snow on Monday morning, and you woke up, you're like,
sectional week, Derek. It
what the
always
hell
happens.
happened? Yeah,
always happens.
It always ends up sneaking up on me. March is like Thanksgiving, where I'm like, really? That's this week? Congrats to Alex Pillow. They made it back-to-back triumphs in St. Pete as he won IndyCar season opener over the weekend. Pillow won 5 of the first 6 races last year to build up enough of an advantage to sort of hold on for a third straight points championship. But I think the caveat there is that you've got Phoenix and Arlington are 2 new additions, right? So it's not exactly the same first 5 races as Pillow had the dominant start last year. But anything besides that or anyone else stand out to you from the opener?
No, I mean, listen, Pilow's just on a different planet. That's the reality of it. Scott McLaughlin had a good weekend. He started on pole and then, ended up finishing second. But I thought a good weekend as well for Dale Coyne Racing because you have, Romain Grosjean and then Dennis Hauger, who's a rookie. For both of those to qualify in the Fast 6, put themselves in the top half of the field, flirt with the top 10. Solid day for Dale Coyne. But it was, Tim Cindric, who is back in the series as a strategist for Scott McLaughlin, told me yesterday, look, we're all running for second right now with Alex Pillow as dialed in as he is. Pillow is an incredible talent. He's a really likable guy. There's nothing about him to dislike. That's the one thing that's kind of the challenge in terms of, getting eyeballs because people like rivalries and that sort of a thing. But he's one of the best ever to do it in terms of the way that the consistency he's running right now, Derek. It's something to watch.
Yeah, man, he's been unbelievable. That's for sure. I don't know if anybody's ever done this before, but Trae Young has not played in a game for the Wizards, but he has been ejected from one.
Yeah, I saw that.
Trae Young earned his first ejection with his new team before making his debut for Washington after he left the bench early to dispute a foul call in Monday night's loss to the Rockets. Young's ejection came hours after he announced on socials that he'll make his debut on Thursday against Utah.
Well,
He hasn't played since being traded to the Wizards on January 7th.
allow me to ask you this.
Yeah.
And I might have asked you this last week, but I know I've asked it other places. Who is the most obscure and random? My annual question that I asked, Eric, if you set up cameras in the Las Vegas Strip and in O'Hare Airport and in the Magic Kingdom, 3 places, where you have like mass passerby of just American people all the time. And you're in the camera, it's a special AI camera that can look for NBA logos on a sweatshirt, a hat, a backpack, whatever it might be.
Most obscure franchise?
What franchise would you go the longest before you saw someone repping their stuff? It's got to be the Washington Wizards, right?
Here's the thing. If you're including O'Hare and Disney on there, you have a lot of international. And NBA is huge,
Understood.
particularly in the Asian countries overseas, whereas Major League Baseball is, I think, certainly in America is not to that level. And even overseas, yes, obviously the Asian countries and things like that care about major, Shohei Ohtani, things like that in Major League Baseball. But I think you'd have to go Major League Baseball if we're talking the 3 major
No, but
sports.
what I'm saying is what franchise in the NBA would be
just in the
most-
NBA.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were talking, because usually your question is what in all sports.
Pay attention. Of the 3,
I don't like you today.
we're talking NBA. Listen.
Like you've been openly combative on the show today. And usually sometimes you're like, you guys know, you watch the show, you're brooding, and I can tell, like, oh, we're going to have a bad show because you sit down and, all right, where's Vince? Like, I'm ready to go now. You get in, and
That's kind of like Borat. When did you start doing Borat?
You weren't that way today. You sat down and we kind of had a nice conversation, everything. It's just like once the camera started rolling, then you got all salty.
Okay. So which NBA franchise is the most obscure? That's the question Jake asked, and most people listening are already shouting at their radio because they know the answer or they're
Are you trying to get me to say Wizards?
It's got to be the Wizards,
Yeah,
though, right?
I mean, they would be.
And I think they
up
actually, next year when you get Trae Young and Anthony Davis, now these are big ifs because a health factor, but they have pieces now where you look at it and you go, and Keontae George is a nice talent, young player. They have some pieces there, but it just feels like despite like a 2-year window when John Wall was healthy, that not only does it never click for them, but also, like, have you ever met a fan of them?
Yeah, the other thing I would consider, though, Jake, you'd have to throw the Kings in there because one of their primary colors is purple, and dudes are just less likely to wear purple.
Okay.
Whereas the Wizards at least have red, white, and blue, and they have that basketball logo with the Washington Monument that's actually kind of cool. I would wear that, whereas all the Kings stuff sucks for the most part.
It's hard to argue.
I think all the Kings stuff sucks. I've never liked their logos. I've never liked their jerseys.
They do too much of like lion type stuff.
Yeah,
it's a little weird.
I don't like it. Speaking of the NBA, free-falling Pacers now 0-6 since the All-Star break. So if you're rooting for the tank, congratulations. They're basically giving up $120 a night. 15-46, worst record in the East, only behind the Kings overall. Pacers have lost 6 straight. Nets have lost 8 straight. Jazz have lost 6 straight. Wizards have lost 5 straight. But the Kings have split their last 4 games.
And the
climbed
Pacers
closer to the pack.
Pacers getting ready to go out west and see the Kings. What a huge matchup that's going to be.
Big one.
A
biggie.
Talon Peter, baby. Let's get 38 minutes, brother. Let's go. Let's go.
We come back on the show, Chateau Kitchen's Biter Bow Bleep, and we'll wrap up episode 276 here on Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgages in a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgages in a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
And for final time, Corey and Schultz, Hoagies and Hops, chili water Tap Room, 42nd and Boulevard. Thanks so much for joining us on this rainy Tuesday afternoon. Chateau Kitchens is the sponsor of our final segment of the show, Buy It or Bull Bleep. They're in the business of in-home transformations at Chateau Kitchens, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook for before and after pictures, whether it be a bathroom, a kitchen, anything on the interior of your home. Stephen Moore and his very, very talented group of builders and designers and workers will, like I said, transform your home and make it a beautiful space, an outdated space, a broken space. They'll fix it. They'll update it. They'll do whatever it takes to make it the space of your dreams with Chateau Kitchens. But don't take my word for it. Again, before and after pictures on their socials at Chateau Kitchens and chateaukitchens.com.
Okay, Derek, here is my first one. You ready?
Oh, wow. You're going to lead us off?
March Madness is underway. I will begin with the first of two March Madness questions for you on this exciting edition of Biter Bowl Show. It's brought to you by Chateau Kitchens. Number one, both Indiana and Ohio State will hear their name called on Selection Sunday.
I'm going to say Bull Bleep. I think you'll have enough bid stealers to not make that happen. I don't know what Ohio State's other game is this week besides Indiana.
I had looked at that. Indiana's got Minnesota, obviously, tomorrow night, and then at Ohio State.
I would want to know that. And then, obviously, they still have the Big Ten tournament. But it strikes me as a situation, clearly both teams could get in, right? It strikes me as a situation where, generally speaking, when you have two teams from the same league that are kind of vying for a spot, one of them gets in, one of them gets out. So
okay.
I'm going to say Bull Bleep.
Okay, second one. 50%, that would be one half of this year's men's Final Four in college basketball will feature teams looking for their first ever national championship.
I think I might buy that. It's only half, right? Only two of the
Correct.
Final Four teams. Yeah, I think I might buy that. Because if half of them are UConn, Florida, Duke, I'm taking the pool of title winners.
If you were giving me the
Arizona,
Purdue, Iowa State, Texas Tech.
Well, actually, God, that's tough. Michigan. I mean, you've got basically three of the top four that would all be former champions. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to walk that back. But Jake, I do think
there's always a surprise team in there, though.
I do think this is the kind of year where, Iowa State could win the national championship.
No question.
I know that they lost to Arizona. They didn't win the Big 12. There's no reason why Iowa State. Michigan State could win the national championship. They've won the national championship, obviously, before. But Michigan State would be, what are they ranked? 8th, 9th, whatever they are? Like, they could win the national championship. Like, you just have a deeper pool of teams that could realistically win the championship this year than normal, I think.
I think it'll be
I think it's going to be amazing. It's been a great season.
Yeah.
It's been a really great college basketball season. Final one, the NFL Combine ain't going nowhere. Bite or Bull Bleep. I understand that's not grammatically correct.
You mean in terms of interest? Because I can tell you last week, for me, it went nowhere.
I went downtown, and it was
Coach,
pretty.
how you doing, Coach?
It was pretty dead.
No,
this was more, hey, media member, hi, media member, hey, media member.
No, you're right.
Like, everybody, even after hours, they were still wearing their credentials, a lot of them. I don't think it's ever leaving Indianapolis. I think if it was going to leave, it would have left already.
Here's the thing. Kidding aside, it's great for the city. It's in Indianapolis. People will tell you because of the medicals anymore, half of those medicals are on, transportable MRI machines on trucks that can take place anywhere. Because of the walking access to hotels, steak restaurants, that's a big one. I don't think it goes anywhere, Derek, and I think it doesn't go anywhere because if the Combine is going to leave Indianapolis, it's going to be because they've done away with the Combine. And everybody simply does their pro days, and that's where they do their medicals and that sort of a thing. I just feel like I don't think the Combine ever totally goes away. But I think with each year we learn that it's more about, it's a job fair. It's a job fair more so than it is
and this is
finding out the 40 time of a 320-pound line.
There's also an element that has nothing to do with the players at all, and it's agents being able to go to dinners
That's right.
and things like
That's
that
right.
and connect with teams. And, Michael Scott in The Office said Chili's where business gets done. The Combine is where business gets done a lot of the times. That has nothing to do with 40 times and bench reps and all that other stuff.
No, that's right.
Thanks to our fantastic sponsors, of course, Chili Water Brewing Tap Room, where we sit right now, adjacent to Hoagies and Hops, hoagiesandhops.com for their catering menu at 42nd and Boulevard. Our friends at Chateau Kitchens, chateaukitchens.com, and before and after pictures at Chateau Kitchens. The Horizon League, again, March 8th to 10th. It's this week, horizonleague.org/tickets for their men's and women's basketball championships presented by
Buy your
Barbasol.
Barbasol while you're at it.
And, of course, our presenting sponsor. I love Barbasol. I've used it for 30 years, and obviously I've done a really great job. what was I going to say? Presenting sponsor. Sorry, I was thinking about how smooth my skin is. Presenting sponsor of the show, Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Thanks to our friends, BAWFG.com, Bailey and Wood Financial Group. For the great ISC crew, he's Jake. I'm Derek. We'll see you next time right here on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride